It seems like it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Where you been?
Asleep. Up until lately, my hours
He said
have been
asleep.
completely
I know that's
different.
right.
Have been completely
Jorge
different.
Olivares is in studio with us. Jorge Jueves, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, man?
I'm well.
You're looking well.
I was thinking about it the other day. Somebody asked me, they said, how long have you been doing Make It Plain? And I don't know the exact time I started, but it's easily been about 4 or 5 years, right? Because I started when
Really?
y'all were
Probably.
in
Time
the old
flies.
time slot.
Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It was before you. And how long you been here?
Jorge was already doing his thing on the show before I joined, and I've been with the show for over 2 years now.
Interesting.
You've only been with us for 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years.
Feels like 15.
It feels like 30 over here, bud.
You can never win an argument with a woman. See, that's an example right there. They can come back.
Nice.
They can come back with something else, boy. I know that's
yeah,
right.
That's pretty
It was
good.
2 years in July for me. So.
Yeah. See, when I first started coming on Make It Plain, the only thing we had to worry about was Obama deporting 2 million people. And now look at what we're
Look
doing.
how far we've come.
Yeah.
You ready for
Talking
that
about
wall?
deporting shit.
You ready for that wall, man?
The thing is, it's so funny because every time I go home, and usually when I go home, it's during the holidays, and whenever it's the holidays, we have this festival that happens close to the border fence wall, whatever the fuck. I'm sorry, I don't know if we can cuss. And
Join the club. We had other folks. A preacher called Jan Brewer crazy ass earlier.
oh, really?
From Francis Johnson running for Congress.
I think I'm
go
just
ahead,
so
knock
used to
yourself
it because I cuss quite a bit on my show, and
You do?
I do, and it's
You do?
not. My parents tell me I shouldn't because they say like what most people say is they say it waters down your argument when you start to put in some expletives, but when you have a certain feeling, you gotta just
It depends.
express it. And
That's no language some people understand.
yeah. And so usually every time I go home for the holidays, the border fence is there and we have this huge festival, but it happens beyond the border fence. And so we're in this weird no man's land of like, is this America? Is this Mexico? Like, are we going to get in trouble for being here? But everyone realizes, at least on the border, that the idea of a fence, of a wall is completely ridiculous. It's been ridiculous for the past 12 years that it's been there.
Right.
And I think more people are starting to focus on the issue at hand, which is the idea of the family separations, and how not too far from my own hometown, about an hour and a half away, there's a detention facility in Dilley, Texas, that's housing a lot of these kids, and trying to figure out, is there a way that we're going to get them back with their parents? Have their parents already left? Have the parents left because, they were told that their kids are never going to be found again? What is all this misleading information that is being told to these parents? And the worst part is nobody knows whether these parents are being communicated with in Spanish, in English, if they understand the nature of their situation, or if they're ever going to see the kids. And the same works for the kids. Like, who's talking to these kids? Are these advocates? Hopefully there's advocates talking to these kids. Are they speaking to them the way they need to be spoken to? I don't know. So I think most of the attention back home is now away from the wall and trying to figure out who's separated, who's not separated, and what can we do to bring families together.
Yeah. Affirmative reaction on Saturdays. So the time is
noon to 2.
okay. What are you going to talk about this Saturday?
So this Saturday I have an author, Ann Travers. She's talking about what it's like to raise a transgender child, and all the complexities that come with that, especially when something that I've been out of school for quite some time that I don't necessarily remember. But back to school is such a weird time for LGBT kids, in the sense that, one, some of them are very excited to go back to school because they might come from a hostile family life, and family might not be accepting, so the only way they can find some sort of refuge or acceptance is if they go home. If they go to school. But then the reverse. So there are a lot of students who don't want to go back to school because then they see their bullies, they see teachers who don't quite understand. And there are a lot of schools, especially this week, there was a story about a kid who got in trouble for a transgender kid got in trouble for using the bathroom that corresponded with the gender that they identify with. So there are a lot of times in which going to school isn't the happiest thing ever for, I don't know how many students are happy to go to school, but there are some who need it to feel safe from home, and there's some that just want to stay home because they don't feel safe at school. And I think it doesn't help that we're living this administration that is making matters worse for kids, especially trans kids. One of the first things Trump did while in office was rescinded Obama-era guidelines to protect trans students at school. So I think the author
Right.
that I'm going to have, Ann Travers, is going to speak a little bit about that when she's on the show this coming Saturday. And I'm going to have one of my panelists, who's a dear friend of mine. She is a part of my LGBT Catholic group. And we're going to talk a lot about what's happening with the Catholic Church right now, especially with the news of this week. And I know it's quite a bit. And the weird thing is, so next week, and I haven't announced this on my show, so I'm going to announce it here. I'll make it plain first. Next week, I'm traveling to Dublin, Ireland to be, right? The only Mexican in Ireland. It's going to be so weird. But so I've been invited to be a part of this new global campaign about LGBT Catholic experiences, because next week there's going to be the World Meeting of Families, and at this huge meeting that is a lot of the Catholic leadership is going to be there. I think for the first time they're having some sort of discussion about LGBT identity. So on the heels of that, a completely separate organization group is launching this campaign to let people know that LGBT people's lives within the church exist, and that we are still trying to figure out our placement within the church. So my own connection with the church is interesting because it is coming from an activist point of view where I'm trying to do what I can to change the church in that regard. I in no way am an apologist. When you see the news of this week, especially how many kids are affected, I think it's upwards of 1,000 kids. You understand that.
And this was where? This was in
Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania, right?
So over the span of 60 or 70 years, at least 300 priests are accused of having molested upwards of 1,000 kids. So when you see things like that and you realize just how poorly the church is taking care of its own people, and has been for quite some time, hopefully there's a discussion that can be had about that. So that's going to be on the show this Saturday.
Wow.
Because this friend of
Yeah, I
mine,
wanna miss that.
she is a religion teacher, she's lesbian, she's Latina, and she's somebody who comes at it from, she sees that the church sucks when it comes to women. The church sucks when it comes to gay people. So here she is trying to operate and trying to figure out, is she supposed to stay a part of a faith that she grew up with, knowing that the faith itself doesn't want her?
Yeah.
So some heavy stuff on Saturday.
Yeah, you doing it on Saturday. That's heavy for a Saturday.
Yeah. And then
But it's great.
We'll talk about Nicki Minaj. We'll even it out a little
Really?
bit.
You like her new album?
I don't mind it. My thing with Nicki is, this is getting into the weeds, but I like her music. I hate that there is a double standard when it comes to people trying to assume that she has to do everything and anything because she's the only female rapper who's at that level in her game. My issue with Nicki is that she's attached herself to this rapper, this 21-year-old Mexican-American rapper who is accused of being sexually inappropriate with a minor and is being
Right.
investigated by the DA to see whether or not he can get jail time.
What's his name?
Tekashi 6ix9ine, I think.
Okay, right.
And so she was on his new record, and she is taking him on tour, and that is what I find heavily problematic, because
Okay,
here
yeah.
you have
I
this
did hear
person
something
who
about
is at the top of her game and at the top of a lot of the music game, and this guy is not who you want to be
Right.
with.
So you're gonna deal with that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
You got a lot going on.
And
You
we'll
get
talk
a lot
about Crazy
done,
Rich Asians.
And yeah, what's up with that? So
I feel like every person who has ever been a part of a minority group, like, people need to show up for Crazy Rich Asians. You might not be Asian, but you should go see Crazy Rich Asians, so that way you can show, like, you need to stand in solidarity with people.
So it's not negatively stereotypical. The movie.
No,
Because I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Oh, because
Because that was my first thing.
well,
I was
I
a
haven't
little
seen it yet. I haven't
guarded
seen it
about it. I said, is this something that the Asian community endorses? But it
Well,
seems like they do.
It is, and it's based
Okay.
off of a book that was written a few years ago by somebody who is Asian.
Okay. So you have you seen it?
I've not seen it, but I am going to see it.
When you gonna see it?
I'll probably see it sometime this weekend.
Yeah, I should go too. Brittany, why don't you go see Crazy Rich Asians with us?
What?
Why don't you go see the movie with us? This is an ongoing thing. Collusion to get Brittany
So
to go to
you only
movies with
asked
us.
me because you know what I'm going to say.
No, actually, I'm asking you in Jorge's presence, so it's two of us, because I know you don't want to go with me. So
I don't go to the movies.
It's expensive.
It's
not
expensive,
why I was
uncomfortable, and crowded, and
Mhm.
you're not guaranteed to like it. So I'd rather dislike something from the comfort of my home.
but you haven't been with two Wild and crazy guys like us.
What about the movie is wild? What about the movies is Wild and Crazy? I would consider
Us.
The Company if it mattered, but you're
Us.
sitting silently staring at a screen, so I could go with.
It's almost
My
worth
Worst
going to a
Enemy.
bad movie with Mark, because then you get the commentary, and it's not distracting because the movie's bad.
He does commentary during movies.
That was my experience in Jurassic World. Oh yeah.
no.
I did.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I did
Never.
not.
Yeah, you did.
I'm so
Come
glad
on.
I know this now because now it's never.
Not like running, not running commentary, but yeah, leaning over.
That's
This
even
this
worse.
movie's stupid.
I did know commentary.
Was it one of
I
those,
don't know
like,
about
I
that.
think he's gonna get
The
eaten by
only
the
thing I said
dinosaur.
was like, eat him up. I mean, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Jorge, right on the nose.
But that wasn't. It wasn't like I was
she's gonna
talking
die
through
right
the. Wasn't like I was talking through the whole movie. Why would you tell her that? I'm trying to do this.
Full transparency.
Noon to 2, affirmative reaction with our buddy Jorge Jueves. We return you now to regularly scheduled programming on the Pitbull channel here on Sirius XM Progress. Good to see you, man. You look well.
Likewise.
And San Antonio is hot. I was in your
San
hometown.
Antonio is hot as hell.
I've been in San Antonio and Phoenix, y'all. I've been burning up. The
Traveling about.
hell is real. I don't want to go there. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain.